Imagine seeking out like an advanced telepathic yogi to help solve your chronic, crushing life stress.
Yeah.
You go to him expecting to learn some ancient breathing technique, right?
Right, or some transcendental meditation that will just magically dissolve all your problems.
Exactly. And then his very first piece of advice to you is to, well, stop relying on your yoga mat and go book an appointment with a psychiatrist.
I mean, it completely shatters the stereotype of the holistic guru, doesn't it? When you look at the source material we're unpacking in today's deep dive, you're dealing with someone whose entire identity is wrapped up in the metaphysical.
Yeah, and the spiritual.
Exactly. Yet he is the one putting up the stop sign.
Yeah.
It's really unexpected.
Which is why this is so fascinating for us to jump into. So our source today is a YouTube video transcript from Osman,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes by the Blind Muslim Yogi.
Right. He runs yogawellness786.com.
Yeah. And listen to this resume, because it's wild. He is an advanced level yoga and meditation teacher, a master level energy healer, and he actually has telepathic capabilities, specifically focusing on terminal illnesses and critical care recovery.
So if you're listening right now and you lean toward that natural wellness space, this is basically the guy you want as your ultimate guru.
Oh, absolutely. You completely expect him to tell you that energy healing is the only silver bullet you will ever need to fix your life.
But instead, Osman is delivering a highly counterintuitive warning here. He's explicitly telling his audience that relying solely on yoga and meditation to navigate, the complexities of modern life is not just insufficient. It can actually be dangerous.
Which is such a strong word to use, dangerous.
It really is. But his view is that true wellness demands a multi-pronged approach. You have to stop acting like a passive passenger in your own healing journey.
Wait, but in the wellness space, you constantly hear that if you just, sit with your feelings and breathe, the answers will organically come to you. Are you saying Osman completely rejects the whole just breathe mantra?
Well, he doesn't reject it as a starting point. He just rejects it as the finish line.
Ah, okay. Let's look at the mechanics of this then. Because before we talk about the limitations of yoga, Osman does actually validate its physiological baseline.
He does, yeah.
And he gets incredibly specific about the biology, which I have to admit, I didn't expect from an energy healer. He points straight to the vagus nerve.
Right. So the vagus nerve is, it's essentially the superhighway of your parasympathetic nervous system. It's the physical cable connecting your brain stem to your major internal organs.
We're talking heart, lungs, digestive tract.
Precisely. So when you're stressed out, your sympathetic nervous system takes over.
Mm-hmm.
That is your classic fight or flight response. Your body floods with cortisol, your heart rate spikes, and your digestion literally shuts down because your body thinks you're running from a tiger.
Right. I mean, you aren't worried about digesting your lunch if you're about to become lunch.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And what Osman points out is that advanced yoga and meditation directly stimulate and tone that vagus nerve.
It's like a manual override switch.
Essentially, yes. It forces the body out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. You are biologically lowering those cortisol levels. You're telling your internal organs that it is safe to function normally again, which naturally cascades into a stronger immune system.
I mean, I follow the biology there. Calmer nervous system equals better immune response. But, Osman takes this biological fact and makes a massive leap that frankly sounded a bit like classic wellness grift at first glance.
Oh, about the financial success.
Yes. He claims that this physical calming effect directly translates to greater financial and career success.
I mean, are we really saying that sitting in lotus pose is going to grow my bank account?
Well, think about the brain like a company, right? When the fire alarm is going off, meaning you're just drowning in cortisol, the CEO of the company evacuates the building.
And that CEO is your prefrontal cortex. It's the part of the brain responsible for executive function, logic, and, long-term planning. So when the vagus nerve shuts off the fire alarm, the CEO comes back to the desk.
Oh, wow. So it's not that the meditation magically manifests money out of thin air. It's that the meditation gives you back your cognitive bandwidth.
Exactly. You are no longer making these reactive, fear-based decisions.
Right.
If you are in a high-stakes business negotiation or maybe navigating a tense conflict with a manager, a dysregulated nervous system makes you defensive or impulsive or just completely avoidant.
And a regulated nervous system allows you to pause, Assess the variables and actually respond tactically.
Yeah. Osman phrases it beautifully in the transcript. He says it's just a small improvement that makes a major difference over a long period of time.
That compound interest effect. I mean, if you're just 5% better at making decisions every single day because your prefrontal cortex is actually online, the compound interest on that over 10 years is massive.
But this is exactly where Osman hits the brakes. Being calm gives you the capacity to make a good decision. It does not magically implant the specific knowledge of how to negotiate a salary or how to restructure a failing business.
Okay, yeah, I see the limitation now. My nervous system is perfectly regulated. My vagus nerve is toned. I am a picture of Zen, but I still don't actually know how to ask my boss for a raise.
Exactly. Calmness does not equal competence.
So true.
And that realization forms the second prong of his approach. The biological foundation is laid, but now you need concrete life strategy. So Osman actually pivots away from the yoga mat and points his followers toward people like Tony Robbins and Dr. Phil.
I just have to say, a telepathic yogi telling his followers to go read Tony Robbins is a crossover episode I never knew I needed.
It's pretty great, right?
It really is. It
Yeah.
completely breaks down that weird tribalism and self-improvement where the spiritual people ignore the corporate strategists and vice versa.
Well, Osman recognizes that life strategy is a distinct science. Self-motivation, goal-setting, communication skills, these are structured frameworks. But, he includes a massive caveat about how we engage with this material.
Okay, what's the caveat?
You can't just passively consume a Tony Robbins seminar and expect your life to magically change.
Oh, he uses this phrase that really stuck with me. You must adopt and adapt these principles.
Yes, adopt and adapt.
Because if you just consume the content, you are basically sitting in a car with a perfectly tuned engine, thanks to your yoga practice, but you haven't put the car in drive. The life strategy is the steering wheel.
That's a perfect analogy.
But what does adopt and adapt actually look like in practice for, a normal person listening to this?
Okay, think about a highly regimented life strategy, like the classic wake up at 4 a.m., take an ice bath, and journal for an hour routine that is so popular right now.
Oh, yeah, the whole billionaire morning routine thing.
Right. But if you are an emergency room nurse working night shifts and you tried to literally adopt that exact routine, you will destroy your health.
You'd be chronically sleep deprived.
Exactly. The strategy will fail and you'll probably blame yourself. But if you adapt the underlying principle, which is really about carving out intentional, uninterrupted time for yourself before you give your energy to the world, you might apply that at 2 p.m. when you wake up.
Oh, I get it. You mold the strategy to the reality of your life.
Yes. You adopt the underlying mechanics of the strategy, but you adapt the execution.
That makes total sense. But what happens when you have the calmness of the yogi? You've brilliantly adapted the Tony Robbins strategy to fit your schedule, but you still literally cannot get out of bed because a chemical heaviness is just crushing you.
Then you have reached the limits of both the spirit and the strategy. And this is where Osman delivers his most critical, life-saving advice. Strategy cannot out-motivate clinical chemistry.
He is incredibly blunt about this in the transcript. If you are dealing with severe depression, chronic anxiety, or a mood disorder, he mandates that you seek professional medical intervention.
Right. Not just a life coach, not just more meditation.
So let's use an analogy here. If you think about your mind like a computer, Tony Robbins and Life Skills courses are incredibly powerful software upgrades. They optimize your operating system, right?
Right. But if your physical hardware, your motherboard, your serotonin receptors, your neurotransmitters, if that is physically damaged or chemically imbalanced, the new software will not install.
The computer won't even boot up.
Exactly. You need a hardware technician.
And Osman makes a very sharp distinction about who that technician should be.
Yeah.
He explains the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist, which people mix up all the time.
They do, yeah. And look, a psychologist is fantastic for counseling, for talking through trauma. They help with the software.
Yeah.
But a psychiatrist is a fully qualified medical doctor first. They specialize in the physical hardware of the brain. So they actually have the authority to prescribe the clinical medications necessary to fix the motherboard.
Which is huge. If you're listening right now and you've been putting off a doctor's appointment because you thought your new green juice cleanse and your meditation app were eventually going to cure your clinical anxiety, Osman is talking directly to you.
He really is.
But I have to ask, why is there such immense resistance to this in the wellness community? I mean, people treat taking a prescribed antidepressant like it's some sort of moral failure.
Well, it stems from a profound misunderstanding of mental illness. Think about it. If you break your femur, you don't try to out-meditate the fracture.
No, obviously not. You get a cast.
Right, you recognize it as a structural reality that requires a doctor. But because the brain is the organ that generates our thoughts and our personality, we attach a spiritual weight to it when it malfunctions.
We think a chemical imbalance is a failure of willpower.
Exactly. And Osman, as an energy healer himself, is actively stripping that stigma away. He is saying, my natural therapies are not a replacement for Western medicine.
Relying on a breathing exercise when you actually need psychiatric medication isn't spiritual. It's a dangerous misapplication of your tools.
Well said. And he highlights an even more dangerous trap for the people who actually do get the medical help they need. The danger of self-medicating, or more specifically, the danger of spontaneously deciding to stop your prescribed chronic medication.
Oh, the I feel fine now phenomenon.
Yes, exactly that.
He explicitly talks about individuals with bipolar disorder. They go to the psychiatrist, they get on a medication protocol, their brain chemistry stabilizes, and they start feeling like themselves again.
And then they think, well, I'm cured, I'm feeling great, I clearly don't need these pills anymore.
So they dump the pills down the sink.
Which triggers a severe rapid downturn. The medication was the guardrail keeping the car on the cliffside road, Removing it just because you haven't crashed recently guarantees you will go over the edge.
But the way Osman describes what happens next is just terrifying. He calls it entering an illness state of mind. And he says that once they are back in that state, they start making irreversible, highly detrimental decisions.
Yeah, it's incredibly destructive.
Can you break down what that illness state of mind actually means for the person experiencing it? Because to them, it probably just feels like reality, right?
Okay, think about the illness state of mind like someone who has worn heavily tinted, distorted red glasses their entire life. They go to a doctor who gives them a medication that acts as contact lenses, correcting their vision. For the first time, they see the world clearly.
Okay, I follow.
It's beautiful, right? But then they decide they were cured, and they take the contacts out. The red distortion returns immediately. But the insidious nature of an illness like bipolar disorder or severe schizophrenia is that the disease actively attacks your self-awareness.
Oh, wow. So they don't even realize the red tint is back.
No, the sickness convinces the brain that the world has always been red. It deletes the memory of the clear vision. They don't think they're sick. They think everyone else is lying to them about the color of the sky.
That is wild.
And in that altered state of reality, their perception of risk, consequence, and relationships is completely broken. They might empty their life savings into a delusion or destroy a marriage overnight because their internal logic is based on a chemically distorted reality.
That is deeply sobering. It really shows why treating mental health hardware with the same respect as physical hardware is literally life or death. The medication is what allows the person to even perceive reality well enough to use the life strategies or the meditation.
Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of Osman's philosophy. We have the biological foundation of yoga to regulate the nervous system. We have the life strategies from the Tony Robbins of the world to navigate our goals.
And we have the crucial, non-negotiable safety net of medical professionals for clinical imbalances.
Right, but none of those three prongs function autonomously.
And this is where Osman throws the ball entirely into your court. He says that you can have the most advanced yogi, the most expensive life coach, and the top-tier psychiatrist in the world on speed dial. But they cannot do the work for you.
No, they can't.
You have to be, and this is his exact phrase, the big boss in your own life.
The concept of the big boss is the ultimate declaration of personal responsibility.
I look at it like you are the CEO of a corporation called Your Wellness. The psychiatrist, the life coach, the yoga instructor, they are just your advisory board.
That's a great way to think about it.
The advisors can hand you reports, they can suggest brilliant strategies, they can write you a prescription, but the advisors do not execute the daily operations of the company. At the end of the day, the CEO had to physically swallow the pill. The CEO has to sit on the meditation cushion.
And beyond executing the advice of the board, the CEO is entirely responsible for the mundane foundational maintenance of the facility itself. Osman stresses that the big boss must take proactive control over fundamental physical habits.
Right, because no professional can eat your nutrition for you.
Yeah.
No professional can sleep your 8 hours for you.
Exactly. And he gets incredibly specific about one daily habit that he considers a strict mandate.
Oh, the sunlight rule.
Yes, sunlight exposure is a primary biological trigger.
He says you absolutely must find time every single day to get outdoors and expose at least your head to the sun. And he leaves zero room for excuses.
None at all.
He says, what if it's a cloudy day? You still go outside
Uh,
because it's not pitch black. The ambient daylight still penetrates the clouds, and your retinas still register that light to regulate your circadian rhythms.
It dictates your sleep quality, your hormone production, and your baseline mood. It is a purely physical input that the big boss must actively manage.
But then he takes it a step further, and this is the part that actually hit me the hardest. He says, what if it's raining? What if you truly cannot go outside and walk around?
Right? What do you do then?
He says you go to a shaded porch. Or, at the very absolute minimum, you open a window. You let whatever daylight is available into the room, and you deliberately breathe the fresh air from outside.
Opening a window on a rainy day is about so much more than just getting oxygen or ambient light into a room. It is a profound psychological active agency.
Wait, how so? Break that down for me.
Well, when you are depressed or overwhelmed or feeling defeated by your circumstances, the natural instinct is to close the blinds, shut the door, and retreat into a dark cave. You succumb to the environment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But when you force yourself to walk over to the window, unlatch it, and push it open to the rain and the light, you are physically rejecting the role of the victim. It is the big boss making an executive decision in a micro moment.
You are saying the conditions are terrible today, it is raining, it is gloomy, but I am still in control of my inputs. I will take whatever light is available.
Exactly.
I will take whatever light is available. That completely changes how I view my morning routine. It's not a chore. It's an assertion of command over my own biology.
It reinforces the reality that you are the general contractor of your life. You are the one managing the tools.
So as we pull all of this together for you listening right now, the quest for a good life isn't about finding the one perfect guru who has all the answers. The silver bullet just does not exist. True resilience is about building a robust, diversified toolbox.
You ground yourself with the physiological benefits of practices like meditation, lowering that cortisol so your executive brain can actually function.
You navigate the complexities of your career and relationships by adapting proven life strategies from the experts.
And you fiercely protect your mental hardware by relying on licensed medical professionals when the chemistry falters.
And above all of that, you step up as the CEO. You rule over your foundational habits, you swallow the pride, you swallow the medication, and you force open the window on the rainy days.
Which leaves us with a final question to consider. If you are the big boss, look at your own toolbox right now. Take a hard look at your advisory board.
Are you relying entirely on self-help podcasts and life coaches to out-motivate a critical issue that actually requires a psychiatrist? Or maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you are meditating for 2 hours a day, perfectly zen, but you are completely avoiding the hard strategic work of fixing your finances or your relationships. As the big boss of your own life, who do you need to fire from your advisory board today, and who do you need to hire to finally build a house that can weather the storm?